The woolly mammoth went extinct thousands of years ago. A company claims that's about to change. Here's a fact that might blow your mind. Mammoths were still alive when the pyramids were built. A small population survived on a remote Arctic island until about 4,000 years ago. Now, a real biotech company says it can bring them back, using cutting-edge genetic engineering. That company is currently valued at up to $30 billion. So is this genuine, groundbreaking science or an extremely expensive publicity stunt? Let's look at the real science, the real plan, and the real controversy behind it. Woolly mammoths roamed the frozen northern hemisphere for roughly 700,000 years. They were true ecosystem engineers, trampling snow and knocking down trees as they moved. That behavior helped maintain a unique ecosystem scientists call the mammoth steppe. For tens of thousands of years, early humans lived alongside these massive creatures. They hunted mammoths for food and used their bones and tusks to build shelters and tools. In Alaska, a 14,000-year-old mammoth named Elma still offers scientists genetic clues today. Most mammoths disappeared around 10,000 years ago, as the climate warmed and humans expanded. But a small, isolated population survived far longer than anyone expected on Rangel Island. That brings us to Colossal Biosciences, a Dallas-based company founded in 2021. It was founded by geneticist George Church and technology entrepreneur Ben Lamb. Their stated mission: reverse extinction using advanced genetic engineering technology. They've already made headlines once before, with a very different extinct animal. In 2025, Colossal announced they had genetically revived the dire wolf, extinct for thousands of years. The dire wolf became a cultural sensation, partly thanks to its fame in fantasy television. That success gave Colossal enormous credibility and enormous public attention going into their next project. Now that same team has set its sights on an even more ambitious target, the woolly mammoth. So how exactly do you bring back an animal that vanished thousands of years ago? The truth is, you don't create an exact clone. No living mammoth cells survive today. Instead, Colossal is attempting something called functional de-extinction. The team has assembled over 50 mammoth genomes, spanning 1.2 million years of history. It turns out the Asian elephant's DNA is already 99.6% identical to a mammoth's. That small remaining gap is exactly what scientists are trying to edit back in. Researchers use CRISPR gene editing technology to insert key mammoth traits into elephant DNA. Traits like shaggy fur, small ears, and a thick layer of cold-resistant fat. In 2025, the team tested this approach on a much smaller animal first: laboratory mice. These woolly mice successfully grew longer, warmer coats and passed the trait to their babies. It was a small experiment, but a genuinely important proof that this method actually works. The much harder challenge now is scaling that same process up to an actual elephant embryo. Colossal's stated goal is to produce a living mammoth-like calf by 2027 or 2028. That target date has actually shifted more than once since the company first began. The plan originally involved reintroducing mammoths into the wild tundra of Siberia, Russia. Current geopolitical tensions may force Colossal to consider other locations instead. The core argument for doing this at all centers on fighting climate change in the Arctic. Mammoths could help compact snow and knock down shrubs, keeping permafrost frozen and stable. That could help prevent massive amounts of trapped greenhouse gases from escaping into the air. Colossal has raised hundreds of millions of dollars pursuing this ambitious vision so far. Now, in talks for a new valuation as high as $30 billion, investor confidence is enormous. Not everyone is convinced this is a wise use of that much money and effort. Critics argue that what Colossal creates isn't truly a mammoth, but an engineered hybrid. Technically, it would be a cold-resistant elephant, carrying select mammoth traits, not a true revival. Some scientists worry about the ecological risks of releasing an engineered animal into the wild. Others argue the money would help more species by protecting already endangered animals instead. That criticism carries extra weight, since Asian elephants themselves are already endangered. Using them as genetic surrogates raises real ethical questions worth taking seriously. Some critics go further, calling the entire project more spectacle than genuine science. Colossal maintains that even if the mammoth goal isn't fully reached, the technology itself has real value. Tools developed along the way could help conservation efforts for species still alive today. It helps to understand exactly why mammoths went extinct in the first place. As the Ice Age ended, warming temperatures shrank the grassy steppe they depended on. At the same time, human populations were spreading rapidly across the same territory. That combination of pressures proved impossible for most mammoth populations to survive. The small Wrangel Island population survived only because it was so remote and isolated. Even that isolated group eventually vanished, likely from inbreeding and a changing climate. The mammoth wasn't Colossal's only extinct species target either. They're also pursuing the dodo, the famous flightless bird driven extinct centuries ago. And the thylacine, better known as the Tasmanian tiger, once native to Australia. Each project follows a similar strategy: edit a living relative's genes to restore lost traits. Colossal argues that reviving these species could eventually generate revenue too, through something called biodiversity credits, similar to how carbon credits work today. Companies or governments could theoretically pay for measurable ecosystem restoration progress. It's a genuinely new business model, built entirely around de-extinction science. That novelty is part of why investors have shown such enormous financial interest. It's also part of why skeptics remain genuinely cautious about the whole venture. The actual embryo process is far more delicate than editing a simple lab mouse. Scientists must remove the original DNA from an elephant egg cell entirely, then insert the newly edited mammoth trait DNA in its place. Finally, the embryo must be carefully activated to begin developing normally. Every single step in that process carries real technical risk and uncertainty. That's part of why the original 2027 target has already slipped in public statements. Ambitious science rarely follows a perfectly predictable timeline. Even the surrogate pregnancy itself, likely in an elephant, would take nearly 2 years. That alone makes any exact prediction of a birth date genuinely difficult to guarantee. Public fascination with this project remains enormous, regardless of the scientific uncertainty. For many people, the idea of seeing a real mammoth again feels almost like science fiction. And in a very real sense, that's exactly what this entire project actually is. It's worth asking what success would even look like for a project this ambitious. Would a single healthy calf count as success, or would it need an entire thriving herd? Would it need to survive and reproduce in the wild, completely on its own? These are questions even Colossal's own supporters don't fully agree on yet. That uncertainty is a normal, honest part of genuinely ambitious scientific research. It doesn't make the science any less real, just less predictable than a headline suggests. For now, the mammoth remains somewhere between a memory and a genuine possibility. So will we really see a living, walking mammoth by the end of this decade? Nobody can say for certain, not even the scientists working on the project themselves. What is certain is that this project has already pushed genetic science into genuinely new territory. Whether that's a triumph, a mistake, or something in between may depend on who you ask. What we do know is that mammoths once shared this planet with our own ancient ancestors. Whether they'll share it with us again is a question science is now actively trying to answer. Do you think bringing back the mammoth is a good idea? Let us know what you think. If this story fascinated you, subscribe for more real science shaping the future of our ancient past.